Welcome to the Daybreak with Jeff Slakey podcast. I'm so happy you found us. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your circle of influence. It's a collection of the interviews, news, and conversation during Daybreak with Jeff Slakey on I-Fiber One News Radio, KMAS, weekdays from 6 to 9. Friday morning, the 9th of October. Good morning, Spencer. How are you?
Fantastic. TGIF, what's going on?
Not a lot. Today on the show, Dr. Apostle updates on the Shelton School District, plus other local news and more conversations. What's the weather look like into the weekend?
It is, oh boy, let me bring this up again here because it keeps changing all the time. It is going to rain by the afternoon, and today could be the heaviest day of rain, upwards of an inch over the next 24 hours, and then pretty off and on between now and Tuesday.
Mason County Public Health notified of 6 additional Mason County residents testing positive for COVID-19, bringing the total now to 489 positive cases in Mason County since March. Still one Mason County resident hospitalized outside the county. There are currently, as of the report from 4 p.m. last night, 52 active cases.
Mason County deputies are searching for a man and a woman wanted for murder and kidnapping after a woman's body was found near Lake Cushman. The body was found off Forest Service Road 24 near the intersection with Highway 119 in the Lake Cushman area. Investigators said it was a woman's body and it was apparent that it was a homicide. An autopsy identified the victim as Rachel Roberts. Deputies said she was assaulted and the medical examiner found signs of suffocation. Yesterday, deputies said evidence led them to request 2 arrest warrants for 37-year-old Matthew Collette and 28-year-old Kylie Craig, who are wanted on suspicion of murder and kidnapping. Thanks to KELA for additional information on this report.
Governor Inslee has extended the state's eviction moratorium through the end of the year, expressing concerns about housing insecurity during the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. The moratorium, been in place since March and extended a few times, scheduled to expire next week. It prohibits, within limited exceptions, residential evictions and late fees on unpaid rent. It also requires landlords to offer residents a repayment plan on unpaid rent. The state's unemployment rate for August was 8.5%, down from a record 16.3% back in April, after, of course, many businesses closed and reduced operations at that stay-at-home order was enacted.
State officials say investigators have fined 11 Washington businesses accused of failing to enforce portions of the state's face mask mandate. The State Department of Labor and Industries said Wednesday in a news release that Mail Express Business Center and Enumclaw got the largest fine at $7,500. King TV reports that investigators determined customers and employees there were not wearing masks and no signs were posted about the mandate. According to LNI, the owner told investigators she did not enforce masking because she did not want to be an unpaid agent of the government.
Well, yesterday we broke the news that the Presidential Commission on Debates changed the debate next week. It was the town hall format one down in Miami. It was going to be virtual. Quickly, the Biden campaign says, that sounds good to us. The Trump campaign quickly says, no, we ain't doing that. So as of now, we still have it scheduled on the books for next Thursday, the second presidential debate. And I am not 100% sure whether or not it's going to go off or not. If it does, we'll have it for you, of course. There had been talk about being virtual, but then there was also talk about maybe moving the town hall to the 22nd. There's just a lot of things up in the air right now with all that's going on. So we're still planning to air it. It's a very important part of the process here every 4 years. So if it happens, we'll have it here for you on the radio. And now, Spencer, a reminder from yesterday's Focus on Shelton, great conversation with Police Chief Moody, that books and badges thing is a cool thing. So they haven't been able to do the local stop and shops out at the Walmart and stuff. So back to school supplies always needed. I mean, even through the end of November, basically November 20, you can donate things, and school supplies are in need.
Yes.
Paper, pens, pencils, folders, and wireless computer mice. Now that may seem weird, but I know that Kaiser, working on his Chromebooks, he has a tough time using the trackpad.
Yeah, they can be tricky. They can be tricky for anybody.
So you can donate that stuff to Smoke and Moe's or our community credit union. Monetary donations can either go to Peninsula Credit Union or the Shelton Police Department.
This year's Fire Prevention Week campaign, Serve Up Fire Safety in the Kitchen, works to educate everyone about the simple but important actions they can take to keep themselves and those around them safe in the kitchen. The Washington State Fire Marshal's Office joins the National Fire Protection Association in advising residents to keep cooking areas clean, clear, and clutter-free. Keep anything that can catch fire away from your stovetop, of course. This includes oven mitts, towels, cookbooks, wooden utensils, and food packaging. To find out more about Fire Prevention Week programs and activities in your area, contact your local fire department. For more general information about Fire Prevention Week and cooking fire prevention, visit www.fpw.org.
You know, the other thing on that is to make sure that your range hood is clean, just like any restaurant, or if you have a vent that comes through your microwave, like that's how our vent is. It's a vent on the microwave. Remember to take that out every once in a while and clean that with Dawn, because that gets, built up with grease and things like that. So everybody in Mason County on the 13th, the ballots are going to start be mailed out. So you should start to get your ballots next week sometime. In Thurston County, they've mailed theirs out, and students are available now to take part in the 2020 student mock election, now through November 3. Student mock election, nonpartisan educational initiative teaching students how elections work and how to become informed voters. You can find more information on this at the Secretary of State's website, sos.wa.gov. And look for the 2020 student mock election. Those kids got a good deal too, Spence, because you can order an I voted sticker.
Oh, that's cool.
And you don't get that if you do just kind of if you're an adult and you have to vote.
No.
I want a sticker. Where's my sticker?
That's pretty funny. Throughout its franchise history, the Seattle Seahawks have never started a season 5-0. Not in the year Seattle was a contender in the old AFC West. Not even the year the Seahawks won their only Super Bowl. But then again, the Seahawks never had a quarterback playing as well as Russell Wilson has, and leading Seattle to a 4-0 record heading into Sunday night's matchup with Minnesota. While Seattle seeks a little bit of franchise history, the Vikings will be trying to prove they should still be considered playoff contenders in the NFC, despite starting the season 0-3. And the Seahawks play the Vikings this weekend for Sunday Night Football. Pregame at 3, kickoff at 5:20, and Seahawks are presented by Shelton Health and Rehab, Rivera's Shellfish, South Sound Appliance, Dogtown Grooming, Neil's Pharmacy, and Shelton Athletic Club.
All right, we're going to take a break now. We'll get the weather in here today. Also, Dr. Alex Apostle, more fun conversations through the morning here on Daybreak. It's Friday. Good morning to you.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFiber One News Radio.
Well, good morning, everybody. Friday here as we check in with Dr. Alex Apostle from the Shelton School District. Morning, Alex.
Good morning, Jeff.
What's going on as we are now into October? Districts all around the state are starting to talk about reopening plans, and I know you have had conversations not only with Dr. Stein, our health officer, Health Director Wyndham as well, but the other superintendents from the districts around Mason County. Where are we at with the latest with this?
Well, the latest information we received from Dr. Stein and the health department, basically, we're in a pause situation based on where the pandemic is going in Mason County and basically throughout the state and the nation. So right now we're in a holding position. As always, we're very concerned about the safety and health of our children, our students, and our staff. I'm spending time going to each school to talk with the staff about how we would reopen. I know that over 200 people were involved in putting the plan together, but we're going to fine tune that plan to meet the needs of today, because that work was done about, I would say, 2 months ago, and things have changed across the board, and we want to make sure that as we plan to return, whenever that may be, that we are all together in terms of moving forward. So it's a very precarious position for public schools to be in because the virus has started up again. And we've got to be very cognizant of that as we make plans to reopen our schools.
As I kind of look at some of the main reasons for the reopening, obviously access to the technology, the kids being able to receive their breakfasts and lunches as well. But the other big factor is that socio-emotional portion of a child's life. Now, growing up for myself, and of course I wouldn't have known about this, but I never had heard about that, or I never really saw what was being done in a socio-emotional way. Talk to the listener who may have had kids go through school years ago. What does that mean, and why is it so important in these conversations?
Well, these are very different times than what we've experienced in the past, and the family unit is different. The economy is different, especially in relation to the pandemic. And we have people that are focused on reaching out to families continually, our teachers, our social workers, our psychologists. We have these people are constantly working with parents and supporting parents and families and students. But it's a big job. But the one thing that we need to be aware of during these times, the social emotional issues are absolutely important. But we're dealing with life and death situations with this pandemic. And so, the social emotional issues, we're doing the very best we can, even in this remote learning setting. But what we keep at the forefront, and this is really important for everybody to understand, that the safety and the health of our students and our staff is, quite honestly, a priority one. And the social emotional issues, we're doing our very best currently. And when the kids come back to school, we will increase our programs when we can, to support our families, to support our students. So we're working on all fronts, basically. It's not just the instructional program. It is the social emotional issues and the health and safety of everybody. It's a huge challenge. That's all I can tell you.
And as you look ahead, and as I look at other districts around the South Sound and our area, if they were going off a 2-week model, maybe for pre-K and kindergarten, to return in and then assess the situation, like you said, the virus is appearing to increase, especially we're seeing numbers increase in Mason County, Thurston County, all across. So it's just a real precarious time for these types of decisions to be made. I know you did have those month-long conversations with over 200 people, but again, that was almost like a poll. It was a snapshot in time,
right, in
August when we had those set of facts. Now we are in almost the middle of October, and we're seeing different information come out.
It's a different scenario. That's why I'm going to each school, talking with all the staff at each school, reviewing to a certain extent the plan that we have come up with. But I need to make sure that as we move forward and we bring our students back to school, that we as a staff, as a school district, are together in terms of how we're going to reopen our schools. And of course, in that conversation, everyone is concerned about the safety and the health of our students. So we're not going to make any rash decisions just to bring kids back to school, because, if we bring kids back to school and it's not the right time, and then we have to go back to remote learning, that the kids suffer even more, and so do the staff.
Yeah.
So I'm being very careful and reviewing data and information as we go forward. And I'm going to rely on the staff at each school and the school board to help us make the right decision at the right time.
Lots of decisions will be looked at and starting to be made over the next couple of weeks. And I know you've got more conversations to go for today, so we'll leave it there. Dr. Alex Apostle from the Shelton School District, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Jeff. You have a good day.
From the iFiber One News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
Steve Kramer from Kramer Tackle with this week's fishing report. With the upcoming rain we're supposed to get this weekend, there should be some fresh coho coming up most of the systems. I spoke with one angler who was down on the Willapa yesterday, and they absolutely hammered them. The river was really low and clear, and quite a few dark fish, but they could weed through them, and they got some really, really nice coho twitching jigs. Another option would be go scout for some blacktail. Opening weekend of deer season is the following weekend, and I expect it to be fairly crowded with people because a lot of guys aren't working right now. But if the weather stays good, it should be a pretty decent season. I know the grouse hunting's been pretty consistent up in the Olympics and the Cascades. Another fun option is you can target the largemouth. A lot of lakes close the end of October, and right now the bass are really fattening up. I would throw topwater in the evenings like a buzz bait, or I would throw crankbaits on main lake points. So if you can, please take a kid fishing and make sure you check out the recreations page at ifiber1.com. And don't forget my site, kramertackleandguide.com. This has been Steve Kramer. Thanks for listening and good fishing.
From the iFiber One News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
Okay, good Friday morning to you as the Daybreak Show rolls on. Spencer, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. TGIF.
So we are up early, and a lot of folks get up early, and you have that cup of joe. And I'd say, and I don't want to say it, but I'd say probably 3 to 4 cups a day in the morning between 3:30 and 9, if not an even tighter window than that. What are you at?
I'm about 2. Some mornings I only have 1. Usually I max out at 2. And sometimes if I'm doing audio work late in the evening, like when I come home and I need to stay up, I'll rarely, have 1 at night because that'll keep me up all night. But sometimes when I have to get some podcasting done or something, I'll make a cup in the evening.
Now, have you ever dabbled with decaf coffee in the evening as just for heat and the taste of it, but not expecting any of the return?
Yeah, I have, and some people seem to be sensitive to it. I'm not, so that's always a good option when you don't want to be wired all night long, is to have a little cup of decaf.
Turns out we are, since the pandemic started, we collectively are making better coffee. A new poll is out, 2,000 Java loving Americans, and people are indulging in their daily Starbucks fix by staying at home. About half have kickstarted their own coffee brewing game up a notch or 2. So they're looking at different ways to, maybe either different beans or a different grind, if you have one of them burr grinders, or, I'm black coffee. It's been years since I've added anything to my coffee.
And I'm a lightweight.
People are saying
I'm a lightweight. I have to add a little bit of milk, but I've cut out the sugar. And you know what I've added now? It's a little bit of cinnamon, which is good for you, and it sweetens it a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That is a good one. So 3/4 of the respondents say they've devoted 2 hours or more to learning how to brew a better cup of joe. That's amazing.
It is. I haven't gone that
2
far into
hours.
it. That's a lot. I have not. I've researched different reviews on different coffees, but not necessarily on how to make a better cup.
So, the only thing I really test with is the size of the grind on a burr grinder. I think if you have it, I think I've read that if it's a finer grind, it's more like an espresso. And if it's a coarser grind, it's more like a traditional coffee.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. I haven't experimented too much. And honestly, I hate to admit this, but the K-Cups have spoiled us all. And in the morning, that's what I do. That's how I get the coffee ready so quickly when we're getting ready to do the show and stuff, is I just put a mug underneath, get a K-Cup, and away we go. I like the French press too, but I'm the only one in the house that really uses it.
So the question is that once we're all back to some form of return to normalcy, you would assume that everybody would head back then to the local coffee shops and re-kickstart what they had been doing. But apparently 2/3 of the respondents said they're likely to keep on brewing their own coffee.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And at some of these higher level coffee stands, $5 to $7 per coffee.
Oh, man.
That adds up.
It does. And the K-Cup, I mean, like we get once in a while, like my in-laws like Starbucks. So we'll get a bunch of K-Cups, and those end up being about 90 cents a K-Cup. And it makes the same coffee you would think is when you're in there. So I've never heard Starbucks explain why it's $4 when you're there. I guess you're paying for the atmosphere and for the rent, maybe.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. The other one that people were doing over the summer was trying to learn how to do iced coffee. And it's a little different with iced coffee. There's some steeping, I think, and there's some letting it settle and sit for a little while. So I can see that learning to make iced coffee could have taken some time over the summer. But when the alarm goes off at 3:30, whatever I can drink fast is what I'm going for.
Yeah, speed is everything. 38% say they don't have the right equipment at home to do their coffee right. That's interesting to me.
What does that even mean? You get a coffee maker at Goodwill for $1.50.
Oh, man, you've taught me that. You can get some good appliances there for nothing. Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's no excuse.
Of course, check to make sure everything is... I was just going to say, check to make sure everything is open and practice good social distancing and face coverings when you go to these stores. But you can find huge deals. And as everybody starts purging their houses from March till now, you can find a lot of great things.
Man, you taught me you can find bread makers for under $10, and they work. And if they don't work,
that's it.
It's $5. If it doesn't work, just donate it back to them or something.
Well, you can return it sometimes and get store credit. You'll find brand new K-Cup machines at Goodwill. Or you'll find brand new Cuisinart coffee makers.
Really?
So if you don't have the right equipment, there's nothing wrong with a good old secondhand store.
No, repurposing's good.
More Daybreak coming up after this. Well, I got to go get a quick cup of coffee.
From the iFiber One News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
Hey, again, good Friday morning to you here as we get ready for the weekend. And Spencer, good morning.
Good morning. Happy Friday.
I think it was earlier this week. We were talking a little bit about radio stations possibly moving their Christmas music to even before Halloween this year.
No, thanks.
And it seemed a bit overreactive, I think. But now we're seeing reports that folks who are at home constantly and finding themselves bored at home are already starting their holiday gift shopping.
I'd rather that than Christmas
next
music.
week. I think you're right. Next week is Amazon Prime Day or Prime 2 Day or whatever that means. Usually those deals aren't even the best.
They haven't been that good in a while.
Echo devices No, it's been a while. It's been a while, you're right. But a new survey out, 2000's American polled. Nearly half said they'd already started their holiday shopping, and the reason is boredom. Being stuck at home was cited as the main reason. 15% said they started their holiday shopping as far back as August.
Boredom and credit cards, not a good mix.
No, it is definitely not. And so the other question, too, is if you're buying stuff in August, are you going to buy more stuff in November and December? Or are you really going to have that much self-control because it's already been shown that you don't because you're already holiday shopping? Will you just keep buying for people, or will you actually tell yourself, no, we're done shopping? And this may be even before most people have created a list.
Yeah, some people, it's just kind of the thrill. It's like a shopaholic. You're right. I mean, what's going to happen is the normal time you would normally be shopping, you'll be bored still. And then you'll say, oh, I already bought this person a gift, but maybe a stocking stuffer. Or I'll buy one more thing to go with that other present, like an accessory.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, because of coronavirus, about half surveyed plan to do most, if not all, of their holiday shopping online. That's a good point for our small local businesses to make sure that they have their if they have an online presence, the wherewithal to get folks to those stores. We've got our website. We have tons of people on the website that come every day. So, web ads on the website can help link to those things. And that might be what these small businesses need. If half of your folks are going to say, well, we're only shopping online, you want to make sure you're positioned to get in on that.
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of stores, we haven't really talked about this, a lot of stores announced a long time ago they're not going to be open on Thanksgiving. They're not going to be open. They're scaling back a lot of their sales and stuff because of COVID. And who would have ever thought? I mean, it would take a pandemic for like the Walmarts and the Best Buys and other stores to say, we're not going to be open on these days, because retail is never closed on Thanksgiving. They're never closed on those holidays, ever.
Yeah. 2020 could be a banner year for receiving gifts. Think about this, too. If a lot of folks travel, those travel plans likely have been canceled, so there may be a little extra spending money for holiday gifts as opposed to the actual travel there. It's kind of like what we were talking about yesterday when it came to Thanksgiving and stuff like that. If we don't have to travel and we don't have to make the plans and the big spreads for the meals, we may be able to save some extra bucks there. That's an interesting one.
Absolutely true. Gas, air travel, time, all that stuff factors in.
Well, more Friday rolls on here in just a little bit. We'll be back on Daybreak coming up.
Thank you so much for listening to today's Daybreak with Jeff Slakey podcast. Again, I'm so happy and honored you found us and chose to listen. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your circle of influence. It's a collection of some of the interviews, news, and conversation during Daybreak with Jeff Slakey on iFiber One News Radio KMAS, weekdays from 6 to 9. Thank you so much again, and talk with you next time.